right. Welcome back to another episode of New Patients Now. I'm Flint Geyer, your host. And today, very, very, very excited about what we have planned. I have a special guest in studio, an official ambassador of Icelandic glacial water. Just kidding. If you are from Icelandic glacial water, you do not currently pay this person, but you could.
You could.
You're welcome to. It's not a problem. You can do that. But we're going to do it a little bit differently today. So we've done some doctor interviews, some client interviews, some, multi-doctor and other industry partner type conversations. But today we're looking under the hood, if you will, with somebody who has been a huge part of what goes on here at the Scheduling Institute for now over 17 years. Mm-hmm. So today I have Ginger Foretich joining me on what is her final day.
Yeah.
Which is a sad day, but an exciting day, retiring after 17 years with us. So, Ginger, I was doing some math earlier because, that's what one does, apparently. But I was like, okay, 17 years, so it's 2026, so 17 years ago. So you started in 2009,
yes,
is that right?
Right.
So 2009. So before we go all the way back there, tell us a little bit about you, Ginger, today, and then let's go back to 2009.
Me today,
Yeah.
Last day, getting to retire, looking forward to the next adventures, hope to be able to travel a lot, hope to have some grandkids soon, hope they hear this and get working on that.
Yeah, perfect. I like
it.
it.
Spending more time relaxing, doing the things I like to do, and
Love it.
Next stage.
You've done a lot over the years.
I have.
So I kind of want to talk about a few of those different roles that you've served and literally you've probably interacted in some way, shape, or form with like hundreds of thousands of team members and practices across the world over that time.
Yes.
So if we go back to 2009, right? Like, what did you walk into? Where did you first start? Like, what was the first role that you had here?
How I started here is kind of a funny story. I graduated from college with an accounting degree and did internal audit for a bunch of banks. And then when I had 3 children, I decided to stay home for a little bit, then decided to go back and applied for this auditor position, thinking it was probably some kind of financial thing. And I came into interview, and what we called an auditor position was the person that would call into the offices and do the mystery calls. So I sit down to interview, and they're like, well, let's get you on the phones. And I'm thinking, what is this? But, I did a few calls, gave it a shot, and I loved it. I loved being an auditor. It was just so nice to be helping the people that maybe don't get all the recognition in the offices, that front desk person that is just so important. And I became really just obsessed with the position. They would give me more and more calls. I couldn't stop. It was kind of funny. And I just fell in love with it and never wanted to do anything financial again.
That's funny. Okay, I think you've told me that story before, but I'd forgotten it. So that's awesome. So, okay, I'm going to go do this financial auditing. And you show up, and it's like, actually, what you're auditing are new patient phone calls, right?
Right.
So a little bit of a mix-up, but funny that ended up sticking. So
yeah, I loved it.
And for anybody listening who doesn't know what that is, right? So you're in that role, you're literally calling practices who we're either working with or they're doing some initial assessments with us.
Right.
And we're checking in on how we handle that first interaction with the patient.
Exactly.
So when you first started, were you doing mostly calls for people who were doing our 5-star challenge assessment, or were they mostly existing members where we were holding the team accountable?
Mostly not members yet, the people that were doing the challenges, which was fun. Those calls were, brutal, some of them. They were pretty bad, and you would just call in and pretend that you were a new patient, asking whatever scenario you might be using, needing a cleaning, having a cavity, whatever it was, and just recording that call and then letting the doctors listen to it.
Yeah. So how many practices do you think you have assessed
oh my
their
goodness
new patient intake process? Like, if you had to guess, there's probably no way to even know, but
thousands and thousands and thousands. When you look at all the people the ones that I did that weren't members yet too, so just so many.
Yeah. So like, if you're listening to this, right, like we're listening to somebody who has probably assessed the effectiveness of more practices or been a part of the assessment of more practices than a lot of people on the planet, if you think about it. Which is kind of like, if you think about it that way, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool,
I know. I had
right?
never really thought about
Yeah,
it that way, Flint.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So, in the thousands, and honestly, it's probably hundreds of thousands of team members assessed and tens of thousands of practices, right? What, what was the most common thing that you think people get wrong about that first impression for a patient on the phone?
Giving out too much information.
Hmm.
They're calling in, they have a problem. They don't want to discuss everything about their insurance, what's going on in their mouth. They don't know. They need you to do it. Those phone calls that are like 10 minutes long of people wanting to know everything about you, that's just not the time to do it. Let's make it easy. Let's make it efficient. Let's get them into the office.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because, right, a lot of times I'm sure team members will say something like, well, we want to build a relationship over the phone, right? And so we think we have to do it there. And
Right.
really, it's like, well, if I'm calling an office, if you're calling an office, even if you're not doing it as an auditor, you're just doing it for yourself, right? It's like,
Yep.
it's on my to-do list. I'm just trying to get it done, move on with my life,
Exactly.
right?
Or you would hear, we don't want to have to do that all when they come in. Well, what if they don't come in? What if
Right.
they don't show? You just wasted
Did it all
15
for
minutes.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a big component of that audit, and obviously the work that you've done for 17 years, is our 5-star certification program. So that audit is it's a component of it, right?
Right.
It's how do we find out if someone needs maybe the help that we have, but also how do we make sure it keeps moving forward? So how have you seen that program evolve over time?
Major. And I would say the biggest thing has been the level of accountability. When I started 17 years ago, we made one call to your office. Whoever answered, that's who we did it on. It could have been somebody cleaning in the back, but if they answered that phone, that's who we did the call on. And then if you would decide you maybe wanted to get certified, you would complete your checklist and fax it into us. And we would do a call. You would tell us when you would be available, and we would do that call. And then you were considered certified for 6 months. So what we were seeing is that on that call, when you knew we were going to call you during that time period, you were doing great, getting a 4 or 5. But we would get you the next month on that random call, and it was terrible. So the accountability just wasn't there. So then we started the program where the doctors specified who they wanted in the certification program, and we called them on a monthly basis, each person, and you were certified every month.
Yeah. So that the importance of individual accountability, right? Was that
Right.
big shift.
Right.
Okay. And then when that happened, what was do you remember any response, whether it's team members were either happy or not so happy, or doctors were happy or not so happy, and how did results change for the people doing
I think
that?
the doctors were certainly more happy because they were getting a better picture of what was going on. The team members, we would get funny things like, well, we didn't know you were going to call. Well, it's not about us calling. It's about how you're really treating the new patients that you have calling in. So,
Which is funny because now people will say, the excuse is we knew it was you.
Yeah.
So
we can't win
there's
sometimes.
always something, right? But at the end of the day, right, the whole purpose of that and this that you've been a huge part of is making sure that when that patient does call, we have a process that's good experience, but it's also going to be productive.
Right.
Okay. So if you think about all those team members, all those practices, right, is there something that you think doctors assume incorrectly about how to get team members to make that behavioral change, right? Because really what you guys are doing is we're asking someone to change something that they've been doing dozens of times a day for possibly years, right? And then change how they do that most habitual thing that they do.
I like that question. Starting my career, I worked mostly with team members, but then toward the end, I've had a lot of interaction with doctors. And what I would like, I'm just going to be brutally honest. It's my last day, right?
Yeah, you can
Why
say whatever
not?
you want.
Doctors really need to be engaged in this program too. If they don't show that they value it, you're never going to get the team members too. And I'll hear doctors say, well, Sally just won't do it. I'm thinking, Sally won't do it. You invested in Sally. You own that practice. She needs to do it. And that's just super important, or they're not going to feel like they're being invested in. The other thing is too, you should, I would like to say, joyfully incentivize. It's that money that you pay out in incentives is peanuts compared to the value of all those new patients that are coming in. I'll hear team members say that our doctors don't want to incentivize, or after we met the baseline 3 months in a row, they upped it to try to get us to do more, and that's just not how it works. Or, it's all about getting that new patient in, and the certification. It's great if they get certified, but you don't want to tie the incentive to the certification.
Yeah. So some tactical things for those of you in the program that are listening that maybe we need to revisit, right? And then if if you have no idea what we're talking about, then that probably means there's a few things to work on.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any specific stories of maybe team members who we started working with and man, it was tough to start, but you kind of got to see them come out the other side and
I've got some.
Yeah.
I remember this call, and this was quite a while back, but it stuck with me over the years. A girl called me, and she was called in, and I was an auditor. It was odd that someone would call in and ask for Ginger, right? But she did. And when I got on the phone, she was in a closet telling me that her doctor had asked for an on-demand call, and if she didn't pass it, he pretty much told her she would be fired. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so mean. No, I'll work with you, right? 10 minutes in it, I'm thinking maybe this person needs to be fired. It was pretty bad, but we worked at it, and even at the end of it, I felt like we needed to do more. So we scheduled something the next day again, and I honestly did not think she was going to be able to get it. She was just having a hard time. So we did it again the next day, a little bit better, but still wasn't sure. So I gave an auditor to make the call. I obviously couldn't do it. She knew my voice quite well by then. Yeah. So I asked that I could hear the call after they were done, and she nailed it. It was a great call, and this was a older lady, and she stayed with us like 5 years after. But
that's awesome.
It absolutely changed her life. If you could have seen, I know it sounds dramatic, but the confidence that she had after that, and she was bringing in those new patients. She was making a difference in the office, and I mean, it was a great story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool, right? And that's something you can't, an AI call grading isn't going to do that for you, is it?
No, it sure isn't.
So it's that human touch is awesome. Okay, and so we are on the tail end of pretty exciting week around here. So we had National 5-Star Certification Day, which, if you think about it, what you've been doing for 17 years ended up in probably 5 years ago getting a registered national holiday because so many people had gone through that program and so many people had been certified and had gotten 5-star certified that now we get to celebrate that every year on April 5th. And all those team members who are in the program and have been in there. And there are just some unbelievable stories around consistency.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we did 5 giveaways and one of the winners has been certified for I think like 70 months in a row or
like
something like
6+ years.
Which is crazy. Like 70 months is literally almost 7 years. So when you think about the difference between offices who have come and gone over the years, the ones who have really just continued to get sustained long-term results, right? Are there any common threads in those that someone could take away?
I think what's super important is the team being cohesive, like it not being so much of an individual effort, because the baseline's not.
Right.
It's always a team effort. But when I talk to the best teams out there, they just are all supportive of each other and encourage each other and want each other to succeed. And it just becomes almost a way of life for them, that getting certified and bringing in new patients. So it's more of a team effort, not as much of an individual.
How does that actually happen? Like if I'm listening and I'm a doctor and it's like, yeah, that sounds great if they were all cohesive, but are there any quick,
very strong
shortcuts?
Certification coordinator or account manager, who's ever spearheading the program, if they can bring that excitement. And you want them to do well, but you got to have some grace too. Everybody has a bad day. I mean, we record all our calls here. I know I've listened to some of my own, or I was like, that could have been a little better. So, not being too tough and just making it fun.
Yeah. A lot of times we hear, well, the team's just so stressed out about the rating,
Mhm.
Like, it's like, well, they're just, they're anxious or they're nervous about it, right? What
Right.
would you say to that team member who's almost looks at the certification and the rating as like this scary thing that, I mean, you and I know that it's not, but
Mhm.
what would you say to them?
Yeah, it's not that we're wanting you to be bad. We're wanting you to do great. So think of it as an opportunity to get better and to elevate your position, to make more money through incentives. I do feel like if they knew the audit team, they're some of the nicest people
Oh
that
my
just
gosh.
love these team members
Yeah.
and want nothing more than to see them do well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So just focus on improvement,
improvement,
right?
right?
Not
Hmm.
because nobody's perfect. That's the thing, right? There's a reason you can get certified getting a 4 out of 5, not only getting 5,
Right,
right?
right,
So in and of itself, it's a non-perfect situation.
exactly.
Now, walk me through your progression, right? So we started as an auditor,
Hmm.
and then obviously today you've been running the accounts on our what we call our gold members, which are
Hmm.
all of our member offices who actively have team members in the certification program. They're doing trainings with us. They're doing all kinds of things, um, and obviously you mentioned it. It's a little bit of a relationship difference between dealing with the team members
Hmm.
and then dealing with the team members, the team lead maybe who is really spearheading this, and then the actual doctor who is paying for the program at the end
Right.
of the day, right? So, what are some of the things you've learned in those different transitions over time?
Uh, Everybody has a little bit of a different perspective on what the program's about.
Mm,
So just kind of trying to meet them where they are. The team members just trying to get trained and get certified and do what they can. And then the doctors seeing it more big picture. What is the bottom line? What does this do for the growth of the practice? And then the person in the middle that might be spearheading that's trying to make both people happy, the doctor and the team members. So,
right?
yeah.
How what do you think people get wrong there in that connection?
As opposed to a team member or a doctor, the connection that you have with each, or
Yeah, I think it's what does the team member maybe not understand
mm,
that the doctor is trying to communicate to you guys and to you that you can just clearly see a disconnect.
yes, I think the team sometimes thinks that the doctor's not punishing them, but
Mm,
like not happy with what they're doing, and that really isn't it at all. I mean, they're investing in the team. They want them to do well, and they want them to feel a part of the practice. You feel so much more a part of something when you're contributing to it and when you're making it
yeah,
more successful.
yeah. So if you're a doctor and you're thinking about training your team, it's important to let the team know that that's how you see it. Is that
Absolutely.
okay?
Hmm.
Because I mean, I know I've come across plenty of people where it's like, we're doing this because you're doing it wrong. It's like, well, that might just set this up to fail from the beginning.
Right, right.
But I always found when I was doing trainings, the best days were when the doctor would get up and say, "Hey, this is not because of anything. It is for you and it's
Hmm.
for the patient," right?
Right.
So, have you ever heard any feedback from team members or doctors of like what the patients actually say once they get something like this in place and you have that cohesion and people are all working to kind of move in the same direction?
I hear it from the team members a lot that they'll say, I was kind of skeptical about doing this, but now our patients come in and they'll even tell us this was the easiest scheduling process I've ever had.
Mm,
And, when you get further into our trainings, like the new patient experience and some of that, it's just all about making the patient feel great and giving them a good experience at the dentist.
yeah, right. Which not everyone
No,
expects.
that's right.
um, well, switching gears a little bit,
Hmm.
um, what do you feel are some of the biggest things that you have learned from maybe those team members and doctors that you've got to work with over all these
Hmm.
years?
I think that change can be hard. and to not expect changes overnight. We never expect someone to come in and on their first call get a 5. It's great if you do. It has been done, to be honest, but it's not the norm. So just to be patient, let the process work, not to put too much pressure on yourself, and it'll come.
Yeah. And, I was going to open with this, but Ginger likes to be usually pretty backstage. So when I brought the idea of doing this up, it was like that, it was like an enthusiastic hesitance almost. It was like, well, that would be kind of cool, but also like, I don't know, that's kind of outside my wheelhouse.
Right.
Which you're doing great, by the way.
Yeah,
But tell me what you have learned in going through all the different, right? Because we ask team members to change, but there's a lot of change here.
Cool.
And it's almost a constant thing, right? Which is part of the fun, but it's a unique challenge, right?
It is.
So what have you learned about maybe how to handle some of those things, or
I think
in your
this
time here?
kind of the same thing I said before. Like, I just don't really stress that much about it. I mean, you know me through the years. I am a high quick start, so that has been to my advantage,
Helps,
no
yeah.
doubt. And I like to do new things, and I like change. But just to not stress, let it work out. It's something, you'll worry about something, and we'll change it in 10 minutes, and you worried about it, just give
Yeah.
it all time.
Spent longer worrying about it than you actually had to deal with it.
And it's 3 months in, and we're going to do something different anyway. So, which is exciting, though. That's one of the things I've loved about this company is we change. If we see something that's not right, we fix it. We change it.
Yeah.
And that's better than sticking with something that doesn't work.
Just letting it roll.
Yep.
Right. If you could, I guess, take the gloves off for a second. If you could take the challenging doctor, let's call it, right, and just tell them the God's honest truth of why they're not getting their practice where they want it to go, what would you tell them?
Ooh, sometimes you're the problem. It's not your team. Maybe it's something that you're doing too. I think it's honestly, every doctor thinks it's their team, and every team thinks it's the doctor that's the problem.
Yeah.
The truth, who's the problem, is somebody in between all that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I've had some challenging conversations with doctors because their teams are telling me stuff, and I can see that there's some truth to it from talking to the doctor too. It's not always easy, but it's not just the teams that grow in our program. It's the doctors that grow too.
How do you balance that, right? So obviously we're running a business and we want to keep right. So there's the customer's always happy line that some people attest to. And then there's we're in the training and development space. And so you kind of have to navigate that, like, I got to tell you the truth because the truth is going to be the thing that allows you to get where you want to go. Right. But also, if I tell you the truth, you might get upset and not want to be a customer anymore. So right. I think that happens a lot too in offices, right? So they deal with a very similar situation where they're trying to help the patient, but maybe the patient's being totally unreasonable and right, they're not doing the things they're supposed to do, right? They're not brushing or flossing or wearing their retainer or whatever it might be. And it's like, okay, we got to kind of have a come to Jesus moment, right? So you've had to deal with that plenty. But I think it's something that a lot of people listening who are running practices could take a lesson from. So what have you learned about that interaction and how to navigate those two things simultaneously?
To be honest. Honest is always the best way to do it.
Even if there's a chance you lose them?
Even if there is. I mean, if it comes down to that, it probably wasn't a right fit anyway, right? If they're,
which is a side perk of being in the new patient business. Those few that aren't right fits, it doesn't hurt so bad to let go, right?
Exactly. I think I've never been like an abrasive person or a mean person or whatever.
I think every person I've ever met that knows you would agree with that.
Okay, well, good. But I also don't mind those conversations, so I think there's always been, let Ginger talk to him, so all right, I'll do it, but
okay, sure. Right, and I'll be pleasant, but I'll tell the truth. Okay. No, I think that's just I think that's really important, and no matter if you've got a practice, you're running a business or anything, like I guess what gives you the backing, the almost confidence to be able to say, hey, I can go have that conversation, and I don't think that, something is going to happen to me.
Honestly, it's the belief and the faith I have in this program. I can sit down and talk to the doctors about how it should work and why it works and what it can do for them because I believe it. I've seen so much success and such growth in the 17 years in these offices. Doctors that start with us in the new patient, go on to our coaching programs, and it's just easy for me to have those conversations because I believe it.
Because you've seen it.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you communicate that to somebody who hasn't seen it, right? Because that gives you the enthusiasm, right? It's the same enthusiasm that I have because it's like, well, I just know, right? So it's just, it's a matter of, are you going to do it or are you not? And if you do, like, there's all these things that could happen for you. But how do you meet that person maybe where they are, where they haven't seen it and they live in I got to see it to believe it mentality, which many of our new clients, if we're being honest, that's even after they invest, they kind of still act that way.
They do.
Like,
yeah, I've said many times, like, what's the risk to do it? The big risk is not doing it and missing out on everything.
Yeah.
So just take the risk.
Yeah. It's funny. There's a quote I read. I think it has a lot to do with this, and I think it's great, and I want to make sure I say it correctly because I'm going to get it wrong. But it's something along the lines of, if you wait, the problem will still be there. You'll just be older.
Right.
So it's like, interesting.
Exactly.
So, okay, so if I just don't do anything about this, so like whatever it is, right, whether you need to get more new patients or not, or something else, like, okay, well, you can wait. We can do nothing. You're just probably going to have less energy to deal with it, right? Like, okay.
So no risk, no gain, right?
Yeah. It's so, okay, I think that's great. Now, being your last day, and I'm purposely trying to stay pretty on purpose here. Okay. As you look back, like, what are you most proud of in your 17 years here? Whether it's the team or the clients.
Honestly, what I am most proud of is the teams that I've built and developed. It's a group of people, and I'm not taking all the credit for this, but I'm going to take some of it.
As you should.
That really are trying to help people, trying to help team members, trying to make doctors better leaders, make their practices thrive. And long after I'm gone, I feel like that same feeling that I brought, the attitudes I brought, are going to live on, and it's going to be great without me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Don't make me cry, Flint.
I'm sitting in silence, holding back myself. So, no. Well, we love you. All the team members out there who have got to make that call to, hey, I need Ginger's help, right? I know they all appreciate everything you've done and everybody who's worked for you here, with you here, all the doctors who've complained to you, but then wound up getting results they could not have imagined. It was the willingness to have those conversations with the attitude that you did it, that a lot of that happened with. So,
well, it's been an honor, and I'll be eternally grateful for this experience for the rest of my life.
And we're grateful for you and excited for you.
Thank you.
So, Ginger, thank you. Thanks for listening. If you're a team member, a doctor, anybody who has had the pleasure of getting to interact with Ginger, I don't know, go find her. She may have a fan club that starts after this. It probably already exists. So, you just gotta get in line. So, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.